you wake up tired, crabby, and lacking sleep. Whether this happens from sports, other activities, work, or just late night Netflix binging, everyone's had these days. You make some coffee, grab a monster, chug a pop, or just suffer miserably through the day. We've all needed caffeine at some point, or know someone who's just not the same without it in the morning. Caffeine can be good or bad, depending on its use. And it can do so much more than just wake you up. People often consume caffeine without even knowing it. But what really is caffeine? Simply put, caffeine is a drug. What kind of drug? It's a stimulant. It's the most widely used and most frequently used drug in the entire world. But a lot of people think it's a replacement for sleep, but it's not. According to Caffeine Informer, it doesn't replace the need for sleep, but it just simply covers up the symptoms of it. The FDA recommends that you drink about, at max, 400 milligrams of caffeine. Now, the numbers vary, but it averages about 100 to 200 milligrams a day is average for a person in the U.S. And 85% of Americans drink caffeine on a daily basis. Now here is a chart of all age groups on their daily caffeine intake. So for our age group, most of us are 13 to 17. It's about 80 milligrams a day, which is similar to like a pop a day. And you can see as you get older, it slowly gets higher. Generally with older people drinking more coffee is how that trend goes. So there's lots of foods that already contain caffeine in them naturally. First one you think of, coffee and tea. One of the most obvious ones, of course. But there's others too. Surprisingly, chocolate. All chocolate things have some sort of caffeine in them. And others, like ice cream and frozen yogurt. There's also a few other ones. Here you can see.
By now we've gotten to know each other. You may have noticed that I'm kind of a high energy guy. I can be loud. I've been known to talk a little too fast. Powerful. Despite all the sweet tasting things that we tend to put into caffeinated beverages, caffeine itself is a bitter, white, powdery alkaloid. So caffeine does have taste, which is why caffeine-free Coke is Coke. Tastes different. The world consumes over 260 million pounds of caffeine every year, and while most of it is extracted either from coffee or tea, there's a bunch of different natural sources. These include two South African plants, yerba mate and guarana. The latter you probably have heard of as an additive in some energy drinks. And there's also something called the cola nut, which is native to Western and Central Africa, which a lot of people chew on for its stimulating properties. And once upon a time, it was used as flavoring for the popular caffeinated beverages that still bear its name today. What's interesting to you, Mike?
And all those are just a few other sources of caffeine that we get around the world. Now, of course, there's all kinds of things that have caffeine added to them. There's all kinds of energy drinks, pop, any kind of energy and power bar, some gum, sunflower seeds, frozen waffles, nuts, chips, beef jerky, marshmallows, jelly beans, and gummy bears. Now, not all brands have caffeine added to them. There's just a few that do. So some of the items that often have caffeine added to them. Now, I was amazed at just how much caffeine is added to things that we take in daily. But how does caffeine work? Caffeine works fast. It's fast acting. You absorb 99% of it within 45 minutes. According to Caffeine Informer, it easily passes through all membranes and is entering your bloodstream as soon as it hits your mouth. Once it's in your blood, it goes straight to the brain, where it binds to adenosine receptors. Now, adenosine is what your body releases to tell you that you need sleep. It causes all kind of drowsiness, like yawning, and just feeling tired. But when this caffeine binds to these adenosine receptors, it blocks the adenosine from connecting to the brain and covers up those drowsiness symptoms. Caffeine has a half-life of like 3 to 4 hours, so after that time, half the caffeine is already out of your system, so that's when the effects start to wear off. Once caffeine wears off, all that extra adenosine your body's been making to help make you drowsy and realize you need sleep often causes a caffeine crash, and you're way more tired than you were sometimes before you even had caffeine. Now, caffeine also relaxes your smooth muscles, which is why when you drink coffee, sometimes you gotta go to the bathroom way more often. Besides waking people up, what else can caffeine do? It has lots of advantages, like weight loss, more alertness, boosted endurance. It can reduce the risk for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. It can boost memory if taken after learning something new. It can prevent cataracts and helps reduce the risk for things like skin cancers, kidney stones, any kind of oral cancer, and even stroke. But it's also got lots of disadvantages. Some like worsening depression or anxiety if you already have that. It can cause a loss of pregnancy or even birth defects. It can cause a reduced fertility in women. It worsens gout if you have the condition. It can cause insomnia, gives you headaches, raises your blood pressure. You can be dehydrated from it. You get heartburn, and you have an uneven heart rate due to this. But caffeine affects some more than it affects others. Now, some of this is genetics, and some is just your plain caffeine tolerance. Caffeine tolerance is your ability to resist the effects of caffeine, meaning you have to take more in to get the same kick as somebody else who would have a lower caffeine tolerance. Now, generally, your caffeine tolerance is 100% after 4 days. So that means if I drink a pop every single day for 4 days, on the 4th day, it would not affect me as much as it would have not taking it the first day. But there's lots of ways to reset this caffeine tolerance. According to Caffeine Informer, it can take just 2 weeks to 2 months, depending on how much caffeine you take daily. Now, to do this, you have to go on a caffeine purge, which means getting rid of caffeine from your system or just barely using it throughout this time. Now, the best way to prevent caffeine tolerance is to only take caffeine once or twice a week or just sporadically when needed. Now, there's also caffeine withdrawal. Caffeine withdrawal was officially recognized as a thing by the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders in 2013. And when you withdraw from caffeine after you habitually take it in every single day up to 400 milligrams, it can give you headaches, stiffness, vomiting, and nausea. Caffeine, whether we like it or not, is a huge part of life. Whether you use it daily or it's something that you do your best to avoid, it's always going to be there. More people nowadays will spend more on a cup of coffee than they will on a few gallons of gas. It can help you greatly or have some serious drawbacks. But it's more widely used than you can believe and is always growing. Love it or hate it, good or bad, caffeine is a huge part of American life.